Hello everyone. Today we're not joking around, we need to talk about something that's been absolutely blowing up across the North American immigrant community these past few days. People are scared. And honestly, you need to hear this. Right now, check your wallet or fill your pockets. If you're a green card holder, or if you have an employment authorization card, a student visa, a work visa, or even if you're currently applying for asylum, if you don't have that card or those papers that prove your status on you right now, I need to tell you something very serious legally speaking. You are currently committing a crime. You heard that right. Not just a violation, not just something that'll get you a fine. This is a crime, a misdemeanor to be exact. Over the past few days, there's been an avalanche of news about U.S. Customs and Border Protection and Immigration and Customs Enforcement starting to conduct street-lethality checks. A lot of people are still asking, is this even real? Are they just trying to scare us? Some folks are saying, I've lived in the U.S. for 20 or 30 years and I've never heard you had to carry your green card everywhere you go. This has got to be a bluff. Guys, this is the very real, very new enforcement landscape we're facing in 2026. If you don't want to end up with a criminal record just because you went out to buy groceries or took a bus ride, a record that could affect your naturalization or immigration status down the line, then you need to pay attention to every single word that follows. First, let's tackle the most critical question. Is this news real or fake? I'm telling you with absolute certainty this is real. Not only is it real, but it's been written into federal law for decades. It's just that for a very long time this law has been like a sleeping dragon that nobody bothered to wake up. Enforcement agencies simply didn't care. But things have changed. Since 2025, with the new administration taking office and immigration policy taking a sharp right turn, this dormant legal provision has been reactivated. Legally speaking, this is crystal clear. Not carrying your green card or immigration documents is a misdemeanor. There's no debate about this in legal circles. The reason you didn't feel it before was because enforcement priorities used to focus on serious criminals and catching terrorists. For ordinary, law-abiding people, police would typically turn a blind eye to little things like not carrying your card. They just wave you on. But now, the relevant agencies have received clear instructions to stop ignoring these infractions. This rapid shift from lax to strict enforcement is exactly what's causing the panic in our communities right now. This isn't something some official just dreamed up on a whim. It's written in black and white in the Immigration and Nationality Act. Specifically, it's Section 264. Codified in Title 8 of the U.S. Code, Section 1304. This provision is rock solid, there's no wiggle room. The law states explicitly that all aliens 18 years of age and older, notice the wording here. Every alien, which covers everyone except U.S. citizens, must carry their alien registration card or registration receipt at all times. Pay attention to those words at all times. Legally speaking, the moment you step outside your home, you must have this document on you. If you don't, the law is crystal clear. Violating this provision subjects you to misdemeanor charges. The specific penalties include a fine of up to $100 and imprisonment of up to 30 days. Now, hearing this, some people might breathe a sigh of relief, thinking $100 or a few days in jail isn't that big a deal. At least it's better than deportation, right? If that's what you're thinking, you're seriously mistaken. We need to take a deep dive into the real damage this misdemeanor can cause. In the U.S. immigration system, what's terrifying isn't the size of the fine, it's the record itself. Even if they only fine you $1, once you have a misdemeanor on your record, the whole nature changes. For people applying for citizenship, this is absolutely catastrophic. Everyone knows that one of the most important criteria for naturalization is demonstrating good moral character. A criminal record for failing to carry documents as required by federal law gives immigration authorities every reason to question your character. This one tiny record could get your citizenship application denied or delayed indefinitely. For those who haven't gotten their green card yet, who are waiting for their priority date or applying for work visas, this is an enormous liability. Every time you renew a visa, every time you change status, you have to disclose whether you've ever had a criminal record or been arrested. Once you check yes to that question, you're facing endless background checks and explanations. And it could directly lead to your status being denied. So don't focus on that $100- fine, look at the criminal record behind it that could completely destroy your entire immigration path. So if this law is so strict, why has nobody enforced it for decades? And why are they suddenly making such a big deal about it now, even arresting people on the streets? The deeper reason for this is directly related to Executive Order 14,159, issued on January 20, 2025. This executive order is the cornerstone of the current administration's immigration policy, and its core logic comes down to 4 words. Interior enforcement. In the past, regardless of the political climate, immigration enforcement generally followed a priority principle. Concentrate limited law enforcement resources on those with violent criminal records who pose a threat to public safety. For students, white-collar workers, ordinary workers. As long as you didn't break the law, immigration authorities usually wouldn't actively come looking for you, and they wouldn't randomly check your documents on the street. That's why everyone had this false impression that the law wasn't being enforced. But Executive Order 14,159 completely changed the rules of the game. This order, aimed at protecting America from invasion, explicitly directs the Department of Homeland Security to strictly enforce every provision of the Immigration and Nationality Act, including those long-dormant registration and document-carrying requirements. The logic behind this executive order is that to ensure national security, there must be absolute control over the movements and identity of all aliens in the United States. It effectively strips frontline law enforcement officers of their discretion. Before, a cop might see you without your green card and think, "What's the big deal, never mind." But now, under new performance metrics and high-pressure policies, they have to go by the book, they have to document it. Otherwise they themselves risk being accused of dereliction of duty. This sudden policy shift has given law enforcement officers much stronger legal grounds to conduct identity checks in public places like train stations, bus terminals, even workplaces. Before, they needed a really strong reason to check you. Now, simply verifying whether you're complying with the relevant provisions has become a legitimate basis for intervention. That's why these checks are becoming increasingly frequent, not just at the border, but on the streets of inland cities. Now let's get into the practical stuff. This is what everyone cares about most. What exactly should you carry when you go out? Especially for asylum applicants who haven't received their official cards yet, or for international students, what do you need to have to protect yourself? As we've emphasized repeatedly, this requirement covers all non-U.S. citizens. Different statuses require different registration documents. Let's break it down one by one so you can figure out where you fit. First, green card holders. You must carry your actual green card that's from I-551st. Note it must be the original. Photocopies are not legally recognized, and neither are photos. Although in actual enforcement, having a photo might be slightly better than having nothing. It could help police quickly verify your identity, but in the strict eyes of the law, only the original can exempt you from misdemeanor liability if your green card is being renewed or you lost it and are applying for a replacement. You must carry the original I-797 receipt that USCIS sent you to prove your green card extension status. If you're a brand new immigrant whose green card hasn't arrived yet, the immigrant visa page stamped in your passport serves as your green card for up to 1 year, and you must carry it with you. Second, non-migranted visa holders. This includes the huge population of international students, work visa holders, visiting scholars, and so on. For you, your passport plus your I-90 for record is your shield. Here's a huge pain point nowadays. I-90 for seconds are all electronic. There's no little white card anymore. So many people think they don't need to carry it. This is dead wrong. The law requires you to carry registration documents, and the I-94 is that registration document. Since it's electronic, you must print it out. I suggest everyone go to the official website, print out your latest I-90 for record. Fold it up and keep it with your passport original and carry them with you. This is the safest approach, if you really don't want to carry your passport original every day. Then, at a minimum, carry a high-quality color photocopy of your passport along with a printout of your I-94th. Although this still carries some risk under the strictest interpretation of the law, in the vast majority of the spot checks, this is enough to prove your legal status and avoid being taken away on the spot. Now that we know what to carry, let's look at how the authorities are actually enforcing this. The current enforcement model has become very proactive, you could even say aggressive. We've identified 3 of the strictest enforcements in areas. First, transportation hub checks. This is ground zero for enforcement right now. At train stations, especially on interstate trains, and at bus stations, enforcement officers frequently conduct random checks or called boarding inspections. They'll stand at the door or board the vehicle directly and check documents one by one. These checks often happen within 100-miles owned from the border, but now there's a trend of them extending inland. If your travel route passes through these areas, make absolutely sure you have all your originals with you. Don't think that just because you're taking a bus nobody will bother you. That's ancient history. The second scenario is workplace raids. These typically target specific industries like construction sites, restaurants, factories, and so on. Although these large-scale raids are usually investigations into employers hiring illegal workers, all foreign nationals on site will be asked to show identification documents. If you have legal status, say you're an international student working part-time, or you have a work permit but you just happen not to bring it that day, in that chaotic, high-pressure raid environment, you could very well get swept up with everyone else, taken in for questioning. That ordeal could last days or even leave you with an arrest record. The third scenario is also the most hidden and easily overlooked. Traffic stops and questioning. This usually starts with a routine traffic violation. Maybe you were speeding or you had a broken taillight and got pulled over by local police. In the past, as long as you showed your driver's license and insurance, the cop would write you a ticket and let you go. But now, more and more local police departments have cooperation agreements with immigration authorities. Or under specific policies, if the police suspect your status, or if they notice your license is the type issued to specific groups, they might ask an extra question, do an extra check, or even directly contact the relevant department to verify your identity. If at that moment you can't produce your green card or proof of legal residence, a minor traffic violation could instantly escalate into an immigration detention case. Facing such a severe situation, what should we as people living in North America do? This isn't fearmongering, this is survival education. Based on the current legal environment and enforcement intensity, I'm giving you several recommendations. Please follow them. First, follow them. Carry your documents with you and make it a habit. This isn't just a slogan, it's a legal mandate. If you're an citizen 18 or older, whether you're a green card holder or any other status, make carrying your documents as automatic as carrying your phone. Get yourself a decent card holder, put your green card, work permit, or I-90 for printout in it, and carry it with you. Don't think it's too much trouble. This little inconvenience is way smaller than spending 30 days locked up. Second, make backups as a second line of defense. While the law requires originals, in real life, originals do carry the risk of being lost. My suggestion is to take high-resolution photos of both sides of all your immigration documents with your phone, save them in an encrypted folder, or upload them to the cloud. At the same time, make several paper copies and keep them in your car's glove box and in a drawer at home. If the worst happens and you lose your original, or you're stopped while taking out the trash in some extreme scenario, you can immediately pull up the photos on your phone or the copies in your car to show the enforcement officer your good faith and cooperation, while also providing crucial information for verifying your identity. This is enough to convince the officer of your status and get them to cut you some slack instead of taking you in right away. Third, and most importantly, stay calm and know your right to remain silent. If you're stopped for questioning on the street or at a station, first of all, don't panic and don't run. Running is the worst decision you could possibly make. It immediately gives enforcement officers justification to use force. What you should do is politely present your documents. If they start asking leading questions like when did you arrive, where do you work, you have the right under the Fifth Amendment to remain silent. You can politely say, I'm showing you my identification documents. But I choose to remain silent on other questions. Never lie or make things up because you're nervous. Lying to federal agents is a felony, 10,000 times more serious than not carrying your green card. If you really don't have your documents on you, tell the truth. Tell them your documents are at home. Ask them to verify your file number, or let a family member bring them over. But absolutely do not fabricate an identity. Now that we've covered the hardware preparation, let's talk about the software. Upgrade your mental fortitude and tactical responses. This often determines your fate in those critical few minutes. The biggest problem many of our fellow immigrants face when dealing with police questioning is over-minus cooperation, leading to saying too much. When enforcement officers stop you, they're also looking for clues. They'll ask seemingly casual questions. These aren't small talk. They're fishing for logical holes in your answers. The standard response process should go like this. First, stay calm and keep your hands visible to prevent the officer from misinterpreting you as aggressive. Second, hand over your green card or passport plus I-90 for record. And keep your mouth shut. Third, use standard phrasing. If the officer keeps pressing with personal questions, look them in the eye and say calmly but firmly, "Officer, I've presented my identification as required by law. On other matters, I choose to remain silent. Am I free to go?" This sentence carries tremendous weight. It conveys three things. I know the law, I've cooperated with the ID check, but I'm exercising my right to silence. Usually, as long as your documents are in order, when they hear this, they'll know you're a savvy person who knows their rights, and most likely they'll hand back your documents and let you go. Remember here, silence is not an admission of guilt. Silence is the highest form of self-protection. We also need to be especially wary of one thing: induced signing. In some extreme cases, enforcement officers might pull out a document and tell you very quickly, "Just sign here to confirm we checked you, and then you can go." Never sign any English document you don't understand. That could very well be a voluntary departure agreement. Once you sign, you've waived all your rights to appear in court and appeal, and agreed to leave immediately. This is the biggest trap. No matter how they pressure or coerce you, unless you have a lawyer present, never sign anything. Next, let's turn our attention to those in the most difficult situations: asylum seekers and those in immigration limbo. For this group, what I'm about to say could determine whether you stay or go. If you're applying for asylum, your identity documents are usually one or several pieces of paper. These papers are more fragile than green cards. They tear easily. They get damaged by those clear, hard document sleeves. To protect these originals, when you carry them, put them in the inner compartment of your backpack. Also, you must carry your lawyer's business card with you if you're unfortunately arrested. You don't need to answer any questions, just hand over the lawyer's card. For those who haven't submitted applications yet or are in undocumented status, the current situation is genuinely dangerous. While the law requires carrying documents, you can't produce documents. This itself is a catch-22 for this group. I can only give realistic advice. Keep a low profile and stay away from risk sources. First, absolutely don't drink and drive. Don't speed. Don't park illegally. Cut off every possible reason for police contact. The vast majority of deportation cases start with a minor traffic violation. License plate recognition systems are very advanced now. Make sure your vehicle is in perfect condition so you don't give police an excuse to pull you over. Second, avoid long-distance public transportation. Long-distance buses and trains are now priority enforcement zones. If you must travel interstate, find a friend with legal status to drive or carpool with, and avoid ticketed and security-checkpoint transportation hubs. Third, establish an emergency contact network. If you have children who need care, you must arrange an authorized person in advance. You also need to get a power of attorney from a lawyer. Keep it in a visible place at home. This sounds harsh, but it's prudent. Many people think as long as they don't break the law, the police won't arrest them. This mindset in 2026 could hurt you, because the definition of law is changing and enforcement intensity is changing. The definition of misdemeanor has now descended to something as trivial as not carrying this piece of paper. We must psychologically accept this reality here as non-minus citizens. Our freedom is conditional and needs to be proven at all times. This isn't about creating anxiety, it's about staying clear-headed while enjoying life. We're also seeing some voices in the community saying this is discrimination. This is targeting specific groups. Sure, you can see it that way, you can protest. But until the law is changed, until courts rule these executive orders unconstitutional, these are the rules against this massive state apparatus. We are vulnerable. We can't crash head-on against the enforcement machine with our freedom on the line. The best resistance is making yourself bulletproof. That's the highest form of survival wisdom. Let me emphasize one more time, don't be bothered by the inconvenience. Carry your cardholder. Carry your identification documents. Naked instinct. The $100- fine is minor, but this small oversight could destroy 10 years of immigration efforts. There are many variables in 2026's policies that we can't control. But we can control our own behavior. In this era of uncertainty, being fully prepared is the greatest responsibility to yourself and your family. I wish every compatriot working hard overseas smooth sailing and safety. Before you head out, don't forget to check your pockets.